What's going on, everyone? Today is an exciting video because we are back with one of, if not the best leaders from set 5. I think this is pretty common consensus, but last time we played it for a video, we did not have the full set 5 revealed. Since then, we've got a couple significantly great additions to the deck, and I cannot wait to play with it, including one of the more powerful combinations in this set with a new card. So with that said, big thank you to my patrons over on Patreon, guys. It's been a lot of fun. We just did a set 5 tournament ourselves, so if you want to check out the Patreon down below, well, you might be able to join in on that. And also I have a TCG player link in the description down below if you want to pick up any set 5 cards. But let's dive into Obi-Wan Blue and what is going on today. Obi-Wan, this action to use the Force and give an experience token to a unit without experience tokens is incredibly valuable. Throughout the entire game, you're just kind of constantly getting additional value. Your 2/5 Gunji becomes a 3/6. Your 2/4 Yaddle becomes a 3/5. Your random units just get so powerful. And it kind of happens naturally with Virgin's Temple. We don't have to play around having a Force unit on the battlefield, although we do have a really couple of great ones. But it also means that we have another dynamic that we can attack on, which is the Jedi Consular turn 1. If we have Jedi Consular on turn 1, on turn 2, we can play a 5-drop, which means having the Trent attack or the blue leader come down as an ambusher is incredibly good. Just incredibly good. So really good dynamics that you could play around. Last time we played this deck, I wasn't 100% convinced by General's Blade. I went with the Jedi Lightsaber because it's been better in the past. But since then, I have swapped, guys. General's Blade is incredibly strong, and honestly, it makes sense. With so many Jedi, if you get into the right matchups, General's Blade can just take over the entire game. So really nice addition. But in terms of new cards, what do we have? Well, the first one is Yoda, and I've been constantly putting this in all of my decks just because I wanted to see what it actually was capable of, since a lot of you are really high on this card, and well, it's been pretty good if you're playing a Force deck. Yoda fits in great. That's kind of what its purpose is. Hey, I'm playing Force. Hey, it's going to be a decent late game threat. And that's what Yoda's in for. The other card that we've got that's brand new is Shatterpoint. This is just incredible. It's a 4-resource Vanquish. It's just kind of an auto include in any Force Vigilance deck. But the other card that I wanted to mention here that's brand new since the last time is Axe Woves. This one might be a little bit odd. I'm like, okay, why are we playing this 3-resource 2/2 shielded that gets +1/+1 for each upgrade? Well, as I said, Obi-Wan can put experience tokens on anything. So what ends up happening, and this is an amazing card in this deck, turn 1, you play your Gunji, your Jedi Consular, your Yaddle. Turn 2, you drop your Axe and put an experience token on him, and suddenly he's a 5/5 shielded. 5/5 shielded. That's incredible. When you take off that shield token, he's still a 4/4. That is still amazing. And then what about the combination that we're running? Well, because of Axe Woves, we have the Force is with me. Now, normally the Force is with me is a good combat trick that usually gives you a little bit more value rather than actually pumping in damage. But if we go something like turn 1, Yaddle, turn 2, Axe, put an experience token on him, he's a 5/5. Then turn 3, we're going to have a Force unit and Axe, and we can actually Force is with me the Axe Woves. What this does is puts 2 experience tokens and a shield token on Axe. Each one of those is going to pump him up by +1/+1 just because they're upgrades. And then we get an additional +1/+1 from each of the experience tokens, giving us +5/+5 on Axe Woves, turning him into a 10/10 double shielded unit. That's disgusting. Obviously, still dies to Fell the Dragon, Rivals Fall. But if your opponent's not ready for it, you can curve, turn 1, play a unit, get an experience token, turn 2. Okay, I play Axe, I get an attack in. Turn 3, I'm attacking for 10. And then it must be dealt with. Otherwise, well, you're going to be smacked for 10 every single turn. And these are the types of plays that you can make in this deck. On top of that, we got the full of 3 Chirruts. That's just amazing in Obi-Wan specifically because you're going to have the Force. Giving him an experience token just makes him way higher power. And this is one of the things that I had kind of down on Chirrut, was that his power was low. But with the extra power bump, he becomes just an amazing card. Got a little bit of removal with the You're All Clear kit alongside the Shatterpoint. As I said, the Jedi Lightsaber is still sticking around. Got some late game with Luke Skywalker's Keller and Bex. Let's go ahead and dive into some games today, guys, and see if we can go ahead and curve out with Axe and absolutely crush some games. All right, we got our nice first one to start with, which is the Gar Saxon. We got a pretty good hand here, actually. I'm going to resource probably the Bright Hope and probably the Chirrut. As I said, we got a nice hand here. Gar Saxon typically does play No Good To Me Deads and things like Waylay. So certainly having a situation where we put Yaddle down and put a General's Blade on it and go to town that way can be somewhat risky. But regardless, I mean, we have the Yaddle, which is already quite good. And interesting, I'm going to resource the Yaddle. We do actually end up having the secondary play, which is the Axe Woves, which is really, really nice here. And I'm actually just going to immediately attack Greedo. I think getting into that mid-game portion is going to be really nice for us. And it's unlikely that my opponent's going to have an event to trigger off of the Greedo. I say unlikely. It's probably like a 25 to 30% chance that we'll lose it. But this works perfectly because we can go Axe Woves here and then give Axe a shield token. And look at what's happening immediately, guys. We have a 5/5 shielded. Straight up, that's what happens with this list. That is the beauty of it. It is just incredibly obnoxious to deal with. And we'll see what my opponent's got. We got a couple lightsabers here. And yes, they're going to waylay. That's fine. Guess what? We go General's Blade now. And we can go ahead and play Axe again, make a 5/5. And again, we are still far ahead of the curve. That is the name of the game here. Right? Go ahead and get an attack in with the Yaddle. Start the, get the restore, of course. And then play the Axe. Get another experience token here. And boom, we are off to the races yet again. Boom, experience token on Axe. We've got a secondary Obi-Wan, which doesn't look all that powerful here, but we will go ahead and resource it and move on with our lives. We've got a Chirrut, we've got Jedi Lightsaber, we've got Obi-Wan. We got a lot of different options here. My opponent may just go with the attack into Yaddle to try to deal with it, because if they don't have an answer to Yaddle here, I can deploy a Luke on this turn. It's one of the things that makes General's Blade so terrifying. And look at that. They missed with Greedo, which, again, as I said, 25 to 30% chance typically in any random deck. And I'm glad I did not go with the unit here in... Actually, you know what? I'm just going to play Luke here. Just knock out that unit. Jeez, it's so game over. Like, the game is completely over. My opponent has nothing that they can do, really. I killed the Krennic because I was worried about, like, a shuttle coming down. But anyways... The General's Blade, I'm glad I didn't go with the General's Blade, and we ended up drawing Axe Woves because of the Waylay here. Just a really nice option. But my gosh, this was not even close. Like, we're going to go ahead and deploy Obi-Wan, attack in, get another experience token, attack in for 5. And I mean, look at the way this game has gone. Every single turn, we're just playing powerful plays. Axe is just a 5/5 shield. We got the early cost reduction on Luke. I mean, General's Blade's making just so much, or just doing so much work. And check this out with the Jedi Lightsaber. We'll drop this on the Axe, and boom, it's +4/+4 with the Jedi Lightsaber. And I know, probably not the play that you're going to want to be making here, just because, you know, you never know what my opponent could have. They could have something crazy like another No Good To Me Dead or Waylay. But I just wanted to show you all kind of what the potential of Axe was. And Gar Saxon Blue is a great list. They even had the Waylay to deal with the experience token on the Axe. They had a decent curve. Well, I guess turn 1 wasn't that great because they just had the Greedo, but they had a relatively decent curve outside of that. And that still, it was just not even close. It was really just not even close. All right, to the next matchup. And I'm actually going to resource the Forces with me and this Admiral Ackbar. I'm going to try to go for the high value play of Yaddle, General's Blade into Battlefield Marine on turn 2. Jabba the Hutt is less likely or isn't extremely unlikely to be able to deal with what I've got going on here in terms of having some sort of answer to what I'm trying to do. Jedi Consular is also a pretty good draw. I'm going to resource one of these Battlefield Marines, and I'm just going to go with an experience token to start out. I'm still a little bit nervous about the Waylay. I could still avoid, you know, going with the General's Blade play, because I could still play Obi-Wan, but I'd really, really like to go ahead and get General's Blade down. And this is perfect. It's exactly where I want to be. I'm going to deploy the Yaddle, and I will start knocking out some units here. I'm just going to kill Aurra Sing here, because one of the things that can go wrong here is, let's say I were to just attack base and ignore my opponent's units. Well, what could happen is my opponent could just start knocking out all my units, or do the No Good To Me Dead thing, which can definitely kind of make things a little bit more difficult for me. Let's go with the Obi-Wan Kenobi here. It's going to drop a Sentinel onto the battlefield. And I don't even think I think I'd rather. Actually, you know what? We will go ahead and just drop a Battlefield Marine onto the battlefield here. We're going to be able to regenerate the force here next turn with the 5-cost Obi-Wan. But my opponent just kind of take it a little bit slow. We're going to resource this Battlefield Marine at this point. Got the Jedi Lightsaber and the Blue Leader. Should I be able to get an attack in, or rather get a trigger off with Jedi Consular, I'm going to be able to deploy the Blue Leader. Although, that's still not going to let me go with the Jedi Lightsaber, so I could just go Blue Leader, assuming I use the 2 experience to knock out a unit here. So, really depends on kind of what we want to do this turn. But Jedi Lightsaber on Obi-Wan does look pretty good, and all of my experience, or all of my units here are ready to get a ton of experience on them. We'll see what my opponent's going to do here. All right, this seems like a pretty easy play for me. I'm just going to go with the Blue Leader. Give 2 experience tokens, and then just ambush the reputable hunter. Again, nothing too crazy going on here, but we're going to just have an overwhelming board for my opponent to deal with. And that's going to be really rough. So here they can go ahead and, kill off a Battlefield Marine or kill off a Jedi Consular or whatever. But that's still not that great. Like here, what I'll do is I'm actually just going to kill off the Forlom with the Obi-Wan. Because I don't want to see any Zuckuses come down and have that be, an ambushed target or anything like that. We're going to go ahead and deploy, or I'm going to give an experience token rather to Obi-Wan here. Deploy Obi-Wan and then kill off Salacious Crumb so they cannot go ahead and kill off my units here. Whoops, I intended to attack with that unit, but that's okay. That's okay. Shatterpoint, Jedi Lightsaber. I mean, honestly, Shatterpoint's great and all, but I think we're past the point where we need that. I'd rather just keep the Jedi Lightsaber in hand. And again, now Yaddle's readied up again. So even though they had the No Good to Me dead, it was just too much value throughout the entire game. This wasn't even close. I didn't even get any attacks into my opponent's base. We just outvalued them because of the General's Blade, because of the Jedi Consular, and because of all the experience tokens. All of our units outsized theirs, and it wasn't even close. This was ridiculous. It wasn't even close. All right, into the next game up against Kylo Ren. Now, this is a matchup where I think it's actually going to be a little bit tricky for us, which might be a little bit surprising for you to hear, considering Kylo isn't necessarily the strongest leader in the game, but they have a lot of opportunities for them to really get some power down. So we'll see what my opponent's got. Looks like they got a Kylo Ren, and they're going to go with that direction, which is, General's Blade isn't bad. But we're just going to go ahead and play out the Chirrut Imwe here, which is going to be a nice Sentinel. And hopefully my opponent doesn't have a 3-powered upgrade, because I'd love to be able to get General's Blade down on Chirrut or even the Jedi Consular here to start kind of chaining together some things. But we will see. My opponent... Okay, they're going to discard the... Oh, okay, they're going to go with Lightsaber Throw. They're going to use the Lightsaber Throw plus the Kylo Ren to deal with the Chirrut. And that's fine, actually, because now we've dealt with their turn 1 and turn 2 plays, and we still have Jedi Consular on the board. We do need to draw any unit here, and that is a unit, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to resource this Jedi Lightsaber, and we're just going to drop in the Blue Leader here. Give 2 experience, and then pass. Love having the Jedi Consular on the board. Let's go ahead and claim initiative here. Terentatek coming in potentially as a play this turn. But honestly, I would really love it if I could deploy Obi-Wan and get a General's Blade over on Obi-Wan. Fallen Lightsaber, huh? Okay, let's go ahead and just drop in... Ooh, what do I want to go with? Chirrut, and this is actually pretty strong. Let's go ahead and give 2 experience tokens. Yeah, let's go ahead and give 2 experience over to the Obi-Wan and give it a shield token. So they're going to only get hit for 3 here from the Chirrut. And this is something that makes Chirrut really, really powerful, actually, is just being able to... Okay, they're knocking out Jedi Consular here. Totally fine. Now we just go ahead and knock out Chirrut, and we're kind of on parity here, but still a little bit scary, right? The big old Sentinel with the Fallen Lightsaber, that is something that is scary, and we didn't really have a great hand to deal with it. Our hand was very much upgrade heavy, and that's not exactly what we were looking for, but that's totally fine. General's Blade, we have Torrent Attack. Yoda is obviously the card we really want to get down. So let's go ahead and just start off with Axe. However, drop an Axe down. I'm going to discard the Snapshot Reflexes. I don't know if my opponent's really going for the high controlling game plan. It looks like they're playing definitely more the upgrade style. So they have Shatterpoint. They're going to be able to knock out Axe, it looks like. Let's go ahead and attack them for 8. Force Throw, huh? Well, let's discard the Battlefield Marine. My opponent can go ahead and hit us for just a little bit. They have a Fallen Lightsaber, a Kylo Ren's Lightsaber, and a little bit more going on here. Ooh, Chirrut actually looks pretty interesting. This is an easy one. I'm just going to go ahead and attack in for a good chunk here. They can go ahead and deploy out Kylo Ren if they want to. But I think here we just go with Chirrut and we can stall the game a little bit. They can deploy Kylo, and it's not great for us, right? They're going to get a massive Kylo Ren, and that is something that's going to be really tricky for us to deal with. Yoda's just not quite good enough here, and it kind of is awkward to deploy into what they got going on. The Chirrut on their side of the battlefield was really, really important. If I happen to have that Shatterpoint, I just didn't expect my opponent to be playing... honestly, you don't really know what to expect when your opponent's playing Kylo Ren. Obviously, you expect upgrades, but there's so many different ways you can go about Kylo Ren these days that... can definitely be a little bit different. And in this case, I mean, we're going to claim initiative. We don't really have an answer for what they've got going on here, but they're going to go ahead and knock out Chirrut, obviously. And then we're left with Yoda and we're left with Obi-Wan. So we'll pass on using the Force. There's no need to because, well, my opponent has already done their thing. They're probably going to attack base, ignore my unit. That's totally fine. Shatterpoint's pretty good. But only if we had that a little bit earlier, that would have been fantastic. Here, let's go with Yoda. Utilize the Force. Heal damage from a base. Knock 4 damage onto the Kylo Ren. I wonder if they're going to knock out Yoda here. If I were them, I would actually attack Yoda. But what did they just put? They put a Jedi lightsaber on? Okay. I mean, we are going to attack into the Kylo Ren. There's not really another option that we have. And next turn, if we utilize the Force, it's going to be knocking out Yoda. Well, they're going to attack Yoda. Okay, they're just going to trade off. I think that's pretty okay with us. We do have Kylo Ren back, so we do have 3 Lukes. We got another Yoda in the deck. So we definitely have the late game options available to us. I wonder if they didn't think that Kylo Ren was going to die from that. But I don't know. I don't know what their plan necessarily was. As I said, 3 Lukes left, Kylo Ren back, 2 of those, and another Yoda available to us. Talk about, cards coming down. I mean, we've got the Kylo Ren back here. Let's go ahead and grab Kylo Ren back. And I mean, I suppose we could grab just the Admiral Akbar because that is just going to knock out the Secretive Sage. Seems pretty reasonable to me. Deploy a couple units to the board, and then we'll see where we get there. Get after that point. There's a Darth Vader. We're gonna go ahead and claim initiative. And I mean, I will just go ahead and Shatterpoint the Darth Vader here. Couple of really nice draws here. I'm actually not going to resource anything. I'm actually going to just Shatterpoint the Darth Vader. And they got a Luke here. They're gonna be able to shrink down some units. They do have that Jedi lightsaber, so they are going to be able to get -6, essentially, here. And with Maz Kanata, we will just go ahead and get an attack in for a good chunk here. Just a little bit of 3 damage. Little tiny smack. Lightsaber throw to deal with Kylo Ren back. So definitely my opponent's, looking for cards. They definitely are looking for options here. I'm actually not going to attack. I'm just going to claim initiative. And, Chirrut's actually a pretty good draw. But, I mean, so is, all my cards in hand. So, not really worried about what's happening here or the potential of what could happen here. we just have so much power in our hand right now with the double Luke and the Caloran back that it makes it really tough for my opponent. Another Anakin coming in. They're going to shrink the Luke Skywalker. We'll see if they have another lightsaber throw. They have a force throw, huh? All right, well, we'll get rid of the Chirrut Imwe. So that's 2 force throws down, 2 lightsaber throws down. We'll claim initiative. And they have another force throw. Okay, that's the 3rd force throw down. Wow, what an incredible hand for my opponent here to deal with so many different things. Now we're looking a little bit, a little bit worse for wear. But we will have the Caloran Beck here. Grab a Axe Woves here. Triple force throw to deal. That's pretty sweet. Ooh, and the Talzin's Assassin coming in. Wow, really, really cool stuff for my opponent, to be honest. Love what's going on over there. And we'll see what my opponent's going to do to follow this up. I'm assuming they're just going to attack Caloran Beck. Oh, they have a Dooku, huh? All right, they're gonna drop the Darth Tyrannus. Yeah, very, very powerful here. Yoda, General's Blade. I mean, General's Blade looks pretty weak here. But I'm going to go blue leader here. Pay 2 resources, trigger. Go ahead and ambush the Talzin's Assassin. My hope here is that the blue leader survives so that I can... Ooh, they got a Kylo Ren's lightsaber. All right, let's go ahead and... I mean, I could go General's Blade on Axe. And then hope that they don't have an answer for this, because it's going to be a +4/+4, which is literally GG. I think this is pretty reasonable to go with. It's literally GG if they don't have an answer. Based on what my opponent's playing, they probably won't have an answer. And that's right. That is GG. So really cool stuff for my opponent. Really awesome deck. I love seeing the Kylo Rens in the meta, by the way. But yeah, they're playing a little bit of force strategy. They got the triple force there. They had the double Anakin. But we fought back with the double Luke and the double Kylo Ren back of our own in this game. So definitely both sides, we had a pretty good draw. They, with that Chirrut, definitely threw us off the game. Assuming we had a shatter point, it would have been, game over. But definitely some cool stuff. And, when you pump up Chirrut and are constantly able to use the force, it can be good. But that's the key. You got to pump him up. Otherwise, 3-5 can sometimes be just kind of on the weaker end. So really cool stuff from my opponent. All right, we've got Gar Saxon ECL coming out next. And this one's definitely very, very scary. But we've got ourselves a pretty nice hand here, which... includes the Jedi Consular. And I think in this spot, I'm going to resource the Maz Kanata for sure. And the question is, do I want to resource the Jedi Lightsaber or the Obi-Wan? Jedi Lightsaber can be pretty good, but one of the key things we need to think about is Darth Vader ECL in this matchup. Same with Gideon Hask ECL. That can also be very, very strong. But I'm definitely more scared of the ECL'd out Darth Vader. That is by far the only thing that they have to really come back in this game. I feel like we're already winning. It's literally ECL Vader that we have to worry about. And that thing can win the game on its own. So we do have to be very, very careful about how we are setting up going into that resourced turn. Let's go with the Jedi Consular here. We're going to be able to get the Force. They've got the Secretive Sage, which is definitely a good play. Yaddle going to go into the resource pile, and we will see what my opponent has here on turn 2. What do they have? Power of the Dark Side. All right, we'll get rid of our Jedi Consular. And now we will just go ahead and drop in the Axe here. So they're playing a little bit more of a controlling deck here. Getting experienced over on Axe. We've got another Axe here. I mean, Yoda's good. I think the Jedi Lightsaber is actually pretty weak here. I'm not a big fan. Not a big fan. Kind of a couple of weak draws here. Looks like they have the Shuttle. So what are they going to grab? The experience token? I assume. Shuttle is just an amazing card up against us. This is one of those things where, oh, they're going to grab the shield token. Okay, totally makes sense to me. Let's go ahead and get in for 4. Definitely a smarter play to get the shield token here. And we're going to drop a Jedi Consular down. And they're going to claim initiative. Oh, I should have used an experience token over on this unit. That was my mistake. Let's resource this Axe. Yoda is going to be the key card that we're going to hopefully utilize to win. But again, Darth Vader ECL, that's the card. Right now, I would consider us to be, you know, on the winning side of things. But if they happen to have an ECL'd out Darth Vader, it is just GG for the most parts, right? That's incredibly scary. Let's go ahead and just put an experience over on... Actually, you know what? Let's just go ahead and attack in for 4. And we'll see what we want to do afterwards. Lots of shield tokens for my opponent. Lots and lots of shield tokens. They're going to Wingman Victor 3. We will go ahead and just Shatterpoint the axe here. And we can't really wait around to see if my opponent has or does not have the Darth Vader. We just have to start attacking because we are running out of HP on our base as well. So something to consider, but definitely just cannot wait around for my opponent to figure out what they're going to do. The shuttle was really good because it really makes our axe vulnerable. And the Power of the Dark Side, of course, is just a strong card in general. Let's go ahead and deploy Obi-Wan, get an attack in, and then attack a Jedi Consular. Again, we just need to make sure or hope that they don't have a Darth Vader. If they have a Darth Vader, it's game over. If they do, if they do have Darth Vader, it's probably game over. If they don't, there's, you know, a decent chance that we could still win this game. Bright Hope going to go into the resource pile. And do they have the ECL Vader? If they have ECL Vader, immediate concede. There's nothing that we can do. They're literally going to win the game. There's nothing that we can do. If they don't, we might have an option here. ECL Vader, GG. Well played to my opponent. I'm surprised it took them that long to just ECL out Vader. That is just an auto lose there. As I mentioned, if we have the ECL Vader, it's probably just a loss. We had to have had a really good start to be able to make that work. And my opponent was playing the Power of the Dark Side to deal with the turn 1 Jedi Consular. So one of the ways that we can get an advantage is like General's Blade or Jedi Consular to get ahead in the game. And then if we happen to have a little bit more of a value-oriented game plan, we can start dealing with the shield tokens. But I don't think we would have won that because of the shuttle. It actually made things really, really tricky. So really, really good stuff from our Gar Saxon opponent there. Into the next game here, and we got ourselves a pretty good hand, actually. I'm going to resource the Yoda here, and then I'm also going to resource the... not the Gunji, is it the Luke? No, I think it's the... the Chirrut, because I want to be able to have the option to play something if I don't pick up anything here on turn 2. Or if I lose my Jedi Consular here on turn 2, I want to be able to play something, which is the Gunji. So this is definitely going to be pretty solid for us. Torrenta Tech coming down. We're going to go to claim initiative. We'll see. They've got another blue leader. That's horrible for them. Like, that is a really, really rough play for them to be making. But yeah, there's not much else that you can do. Let's go ahead and drop another Jedi Consular down. Definitely not like an exciting play by any means, but we're going to go ahead and drop the Gunji down, and we'll see if they have a play to make in the ground arena. I'm very happy with trading this Torrenta Tech off with like a Poe Dameron. They're going to pass here, huh? Give an experience token over to the Torrenta Tech here. And if they pass again, I'm just going to claim initiative and then resource this Yaddle, and then I'll just drop the Luke on their face here. This seems like a game that's pretty much over here. It's pretty tough. I mean, I don't know if my opponent really had anything to do, but yeah, let's go ahead and just smack their Obi-Wan here. And then we will deploy Obi-Wan. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that is a play you could certainly make. We're going to attack in for 3, attack in for 1. Pass. There's an axe. There's another Luke. There's a Shatterpoint. I mean, I don't even think we need the Shatterpoint at this point because of the Luke. So we'll just... I mean, I could have kept the shot. It doesn't really matter what I do here. I think the game is just completely over. Just completely over. We'll see what my opponent grabs here. Hopefully it's something pretty good. There is the Adi Gallia. All right, let's go ahead and be able to deploy the axe plus the force is with me here. So let's go ahead and utilize the force to drop in an axe. And then we can attack here. Give an experience token over to axe, get an attack in for 6, 3, and then 1. And then this force is with me, by the way. is literally GG. I could have used it on Luke Skywalker here to get in 2 more points of damage, but right now it is literally lethal with, I mean, I suppose if I had done that, then any card would have been lethal. So, but I wanted to do the combo here. I wanted to go with the Axe Wolves here and smack in. Look at that 10-10 right there, guys. Look at that freaking 10-10. It's sick. It's sweet. This was not even a close game. They just had a horrible start. Like, blue leader in a blue leader is definitely not the cards that you want to see turn 1 and turn 2. Yeah. Nope. Next one up, we've got Ray Green. This one's gonna be a fun one. I do think their deck is quite powerful. We've got ourselves a good hand though. This is really exactly where I want to be in a situation up against Ray. Now they're not gonna have a ton of removal, so I think General's Blade's actually gonna be pretty good. Even though we have the Jedi Consular, I think what I'll do is resource the 2 events here and just go with the Jedi Consular. And then we might be able to go with the General's Blade on the Jedi Consular, but we will see what is going on here. Chirrut, great pickup here. That just makes me want to go with a Chirrut here and then drop the General's Blade on Chirrut if I can. That's kind of the goal here. Going, claim. And I know Chirrut's not a Jedi or anything like that, but certainly powerful to be able to do so. Okay, let's go ahead and... Again, I am just going to go with General's Blade on Chirrut just to get a big Sentinel. I don't really care that I'm not going to get the triggers off because I have the Jedi Consular giving me that resource cost reduction right now. So just big Sentinel means that my opponent's going to have to find some way to get around this Chirrut, and that's going to be really tough for them. Really, really tough for them. And here, what I will do is just knock out their Sundari Peacekeeper. Seems like a pretty easy one for me to go with. They're going to attack one... I do not need to give this -2/-0. They're going to use Owen, and then we're going to be able to deploy out Axe as well this turn. And then next turn, we're going to generate the Force, and then if they attack with Koth here, we still just get to use the Force to avoid our Chirrut dying, which we will do. Trigger, boom, Chirrut doesn't die. We will then go ahead and just deploy our Obi-Wan. And we'll see what my opponent's got here to kind of fight back against this thing, because what we've got going on is pretty incredible. I'm actually going to deploy Yaddle, because then I can go Admiral Ackbar and just kill off Rey immediately. This is going to be an incredible Admiral Ackbar here. We're just going to go ahead and give an experience over to Axe. Just going to be the more valuable play here. They're going to play Rey, and we're going to play Admiral Ackbar, knock out Rey. Incredible stuff. Now we're just going to go ahead and attack in, and we'll pass. And I mean, what do you want, right? Like, this is just an incredible situation. I'm not going to resource anything, actually, because with the Jedi Consular, we can play all of this stuff. If they attack Chirrut, we use the Force. If they play Caloran back, I mean, our board is incredible. We can deploy a Luke Skywalker here. And I mean, they don't have anything. So... GG, I suppose. Go and attack in, get an experience over on Chirrut, so it doesn't even die to the Watto. We don't even have to use the Force. They can draw a card. Don't need to use the Force. We'll attack in for 7. And this game was like not even close. They're going to claim initiative. We'll put General's Blade on Axe just to smack in for a massive unit. GG. Again, this is the more value-oriented game plan. This is one of those game or matches where when you start with the Jedi Consular, your opponent doesn't have an equal amount of ramp, General's Blade or something like that. It's not even fair. The turn 2 Chirrut with General's Blade on it, usually the Rey deck here isn't going to have a lot of options. Like, they could have Takedown. They could have Fell the Dragon potentially is another option. But a lot of the times they're playing a lot more units. And so I think it was totally fine to go with the General's Blade here, especially since I already got the resource count reduction. And importantly, even if they had like felled the Chirrut, we already killed their Sundari Peacekeeper, and we have the Axe deployed to follow up with the Jedi Consular resource cost reduction. So just overall, really tough for my opponent to work around here. All right, into the next game here. And we got ourselves an interesting one. My opponent might be playing the full-on upgrade variant of the decks that I was playing the other day. Here, I mean, we got a reasonable hand. I'm going to resource the 2, 4 drops here because I want to go Gunji, General's Blade, Battlefield Marine. That's almost never going to happen, though, up against this deck. They're going to have a Power of the Dark Side. They're going to have some sort of answer here early on, and we'll see. They're going to discard the legal authority, so it just makes me think that they're playing the exact list that I played the other day, which is, hey, I'm going to cheese the game here, which is totally fair because I enjoy doing that as well. It's going to resource the Torrent attack here, but we're just going to go with a blue leader so that when they power the dark side, they can get rid of the blue leader, because they're going to play power the dark side here, or a merciless contest. It's very possible. There is a electro staff. Here comes the merciless contest or the power of the dark side. Oh, they're just gonna go super laser technician. Never mind then. This is actually better for me in the long run. I do actually like that more. There's a Luke part 2. I'm gonna resource the Luke because I think Caloran Beck's gonna be a little bit more powerful. Definitely gonna be a little bit tricky getting through this Kylo when he deploys, but we have options. And we'll see what my opponent's going to do here on turn 2. They've got a phase 3 Dark Trooper. Okay, so never mind. Very, very different deck than what I was expecting to come out with, or for them to come out with. We're going to go General's Blade on Gunji. I could have gone General's Blade potentially on turn 2 with Gunji and done some work there, but there's going to be an attack for 3. We're going to put an experience token over on this blue leader, attack for 4, play a Battle Fury and pass. Maz Kanata, another Luke. Again, I mean, I can't resource the Maz Kanata because it's the only thing I can play this turn if General's Blade doesn't get an attack in. So really, really important that I do get that attack in with Gunji. And my opponent is going to attack. Maybe they have a takedown to follow up. We will see. They're on 6 resources. There's the no glory only result. Sure. Get an experience token over here. They're going to discard a card. Let's go Caloran Beck. We can grab the Obi-Wan. Attacking for 4, attack, deploy Obi-Wan, attack. And I'm just doing this because they need an answer this turn. They need to have an answer this turn. And that means that whatever they do here, they need to be basically winning the game or deploying a massive Kylo. And if they do deploy a massive Kylo, I mean, we have ways around it, right? Because we just have so many units on the board. So Kylo's lightsaber, sure. Electro staff, sure. Legal authority, sure. They can grab the Caloran Beck. Okay, so they capture the Caloran Beck. Great. We will go ahead and deploy Axe here. And then if I can get an attack in with Obi-Wan, fantastic. If I can't, that's fine as well. So we're going to attack in. We're going to attack, giving an experience token over to Axe. Going to attack in for 4. Play this, attack in for 5, attack in, and then pass. And again, this is totally fine. It's not ideal, but I mean, there's no other way around the Kylo Ren, right? There's no other way that we can do to get through the Kylo Ren. So just deploying all my units and seeing what we can do with it is really the name of the game. And we'll see if my opponent has an answer here. The legal authority, obviously really good, but the electro staff is pretty good as well. Ooh, they're going to go ahead and overwhelming barrage here. Be able to knock out both my units, so very, very strong play. And then here, what do I want to do here? Play Luke, shrink down the Kylo to get back my units here. And they're saying GG. So GG. That was a pretty straightforward game. Kylo, big unit, very, very big unit. This is one of those situations where, like, as soon as we go into sideboarding, defeating all upgrades, Rivals Fall. Rivals Fall is a massive card up against Kylo. I mean, imagine doing all that work. You get to deploy your leader, put 7 resources worth of upgrades on it, and you just get Rivals Fall. Like, it's an insane trade, but we still managed to fight through it. Their deck was a little bit different than what I had played. I didn't play phase 3 Dark Troopers in my list, but everything else here, are things that I was playing in my Kylo Ren list. So I totally get it. I think the overall just more controlling style is a little bit stronger. If that game, my opponent had like Power of the Dark Side turn 1 or turn 2, they had, Takedown turn 3, they had, Fell of the Dragon or whatever, they just constantly removed all my stuff and then deployed Kylo, it would have been pretty tough to fight through, especially if they like Super Laser Blast or if they waited a little bit longer for that. So definitely a lot of scary stuff associated with this game. All right, everyone. What did we learn with Obi-Wan? Well, he's still good. He's still good. He's still one of the best leaders in Set 5. Honestly, in my opinion, definitely the best leader of Set 5 in terms of just early impressions. We talked about in the tier list video, but the new additions in Shatterpoint, the Yoda, we didn't actually get to see Yoda do anything, but Yoda is still decent in this deck. The Axe Wolves, though, another amazing addition. You just saw many in those games. We didn't get the Forces with me plus the Axe Wolf combination because we ended up just winning the game oftentimes. But even just deploying Axe and putting a shield, experience token on him, making him a 5/5 shield was just so obnoxious. Because again, it's not like we're investing a ton of resources in him. We just literally played Axe and then we used our leader action, which yes, it is resources, but if they waylay it, no big deal. We still have the unit down. The Jedi Consular in these games has just been so disgustingly valuable. And it's one of the reasons why when I made my video on like some of the best cards in Set 5, Jedi Consular, I felt like I had to put on the list because it just leads to these most explosive games you've ever seen. It's like now there are two of them, but on steroids, because even in like that Ray Grave, for example, we had the Jedi Consular down. We were just deploying things so much sooner than what should be happening. Same with the Han game, where they were like, oh, I got my resource reduction, but then we're playing Torrent Tech on turn 2 into like, whatever else on turn 3. There are just a lot of cool stuff you can do with Obi-Wan. Lots of really powerful plays and just pumping up all your units. Things that already have obnoxiously high toughness like Gunji or Yaddle, and then making them even tankier and with enough power to knock out your units just makes it super annoying. One of the hidden stars of the deck, maybe not so hidden at this point, but Chirrut. A lot of people are building decks around Chirrut, and I think based on what I've seen with the meta, really having some sort of removal option against these big sentinels that people are leaning towards with upgrades or with things with General's Blade, etc., is going to be more powerful. You really want a decent suite of removal in your deck, which is why we have the Shatter Points, but you could probably even go further than that, like Fell the Dragons is really valuable now. In general, a lot of decks with these upgrades, it's really obnoxious. Fortunately, in our deck, though, we don't have to put any upgrade on Chirrut. We did see a couple of games where we went General's Blade, and Chirrut was just this monster, right? But the nice thing about our deck is we played Chirrut, we put an experience token on him, he's a 4/6. That's enough power to really mess up your opponent's board and really do some good work. And again, very little commitment in relation to that because we just used an action from Obi-Wan. And that's the key. There is a lot of action stalling. You can really play predictively or reactively around your opponent because, you use your actions, you get to see what they do first, and your action is something that you wanted to do anyways. It's just really nice, really good sequencing in terms of what options you have with Obi-Wan, and it's just been incredibly powerful. And hopefully you all enjoyed the video. I know we've done already multiple of some of the leaders so far, but guys, Set 5 has been amazingly fun, and Obi-Wan has been one that definitely you should give a try. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all for the next one.